Ruth said, I'm telling you, I don't see another one. There's just the one. Are you sure? I was standing stark naked in the middle of my bedroom. It was after dinner, which I guess had been delicious. I wouldn't know, having been unable to taste anything, but with my excitement over having really, truly been struck by lightning, the star-shaped burn proved it. It was an entrance wound, like Douglas had been talking about. The only problem was I couldn't find an exit wound. I made Ruth come over after dinner and help me look, only she wasn't being much help. I had no idea, she said from my bed where she was lying, flipping through a copy of Critical Theory since Plato. A little light reading that she'd brought over. You'd actually grown breasts. I mean it. You aren't an A cup anymore. When did that happen? Ruth, I said, what about my back? Do you see one on my back? No. What are you now, B? How should I know? I never wore a bra. How about on my butt? Anything on my butt? No. Is there something between a B and a C? Because I think that's what you are now. And you really should start wearing one. You could start to sag like those women in National Geographic. You, I said to her, are no help. Well, what do you expect me to do, Jess? Ruth turned grumpily back to her book. I mean, it is a little weird having your best friend ask you to check her body for entrance and exit wounds, don't you think? I mean, it's a bit gay. I went, I don't want you to feel me up, you moron. Just tell me if you see anything. I pulled on a pair of sweats, so just get over yourself. I can't believe, Ruth said, ignoring me, that Michael's going to Harvard. I mean, Harvard? He's so smart. How can anyone so smart like that fall for Claire Lippman? I pulled my sweatshirt over my head. Claire's not so bad, I said. I knew her pretty well. See, from detention. Not that she ever got detention, but they always held detention in the auditorium, and Claire always had the lead in whatever play the drama club was putting on. So I'd watch most of her rehearsals when she played Emily in Our Town, Maria in West Side Story, and, of course, Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. She's a really good actress, I said. I highly doubt, said Ruth, that Michael admires her for her talent. Ruth always calls Mike Michael, even though everyone else calls him Mike. She says Mike's a great name. Well, I said, you got to admit she does look good in a bathing suit. Ruth snorted. That slut. I can't believe she does that every summer. I mean, it was one thing back before she hit puberty, but now? What's she trying to do? Cause a traffic accident? I'm hungry, I said, because I was. You want something? Ruth said, I'm not surprised. You hardly touched your lobster. Well, I was too excited to eat then. I said, I mean, come on, I got electrocuted today. I wish, Ruth said to the book, that you'd go to the doctor. You could be hemorrhaging internally, I said, I'm going downstairs. Do you want anything? She yawned. No, I gotta go. I'll just stop by Michael's room to say congratulations one more time and good night. I thought it'd be best to leave the two of them alone, in case there was a romantic interlude. So I went downstairs to forage for food. The chances of Mikey ever even looking twice in Ruth's direction are like nil. But hope springs eternal, even in the heart of a fat girl. Not that Ruth is fat. She's just twice the size of Claire Lippman. Not that Claire Lippman is so skinny. She's pretty hippie, actually, but boys seem to like that, I've noticed. In magazines, they make it out like if you're not Kate Moss, your life is over. But in real life, boys, like my brother, wouldn't look twice at Kate Moss. Claire Lippman, though, who's got to be 34, 24, 38 or so, they drool over. I think a lot of it is how you project yourself. And Claire Lippman projects herself like she's got it on. Ruth doesn't project herself with any confidence, I mean. Ruth's problem is that she's just, a big girl. All the crash diets in the world aren't going to change that. She just needs to accept that and accept herself and calm down. Then she'll get a boyfriend, guaranteed. But probably not Mike. I was thinking about how weird bodies are when I poured myself a bowl of cereal. I wondered if the star-shaped scar was going to stay on my chest. I mean, who needed that? And where was the exit wound anyways? Maybe, I thought as I poured milk over my total with raisins, the lightning was still inside of me. That would be weird, huh? Maybe I was walking around with it buzzing inside of me. And maybe, like Ruth said, I can send it shooting at people like Jeff Day. He so deserved it. I thought about shooting bolts of lightning at Jeff Day while I read the back of the milk carton. Man, That would put a crimp in his football career. When I got back upstairs, Ruth was gone. Mike's door was closed, but I knew she wasn't in there because I heard him typing furiously on his computer, probably sending email to all of his dweeby internet buddies. Hey guys, I got into Harvard just like Bill Gates. Only maybe, unlike Bill Gates, Mike would actually graduate. But not that that had mattered, at least not in Bill's case. The door to Douglas's room was closed, too, and no light spilled from underneath it, but that didn't stop me. Douglas was at his window, a pair of binoculars to his head when I came barging in. He turned around and went, "One of these days, you're going to do that, and you're going to end up seeing something you really don't want to see." "Already saw it," I said. "Mom used to make us take baths together when we were little, remember?" He said, "Go away, I'm busy." "What are you looking at anyways?" I asked, going to sit on his bed in the darkness. Douglas's room smelled like Douglas. Not a bad smell, really, just a boy smell, like sneakers mingled with Old Spice. "Claire Lippman?" "Orion," he said, but I knew he was lying. His room has a view straight into Claire Lippman's, 2 houses away. Claire, exhibitionist that she is, never pulls down her blinds. I doubt she even has blinds. But I didn't mind Douglas spying on her, even though it was sexist and a violation of her privacy and all. Just meant he was normal. For him anyways. "Not to tear you away from your lovely lady," I said, "but I found an entrance wound." "She's not my love lady, my lady love," Douglas said, "merely the object of my lust." "Well, whatever," I said. I pulled on the neck of my sweatshirt. "Take a look at this." He turned on his reading lamp and swiveled in my direction. When he saw the scar, he got really quiet. "Jesus Christ," he said after a while. "I told you," I said. He said, "Jesus Christ," again. "There's no exit wound," I said. "I had Ruth check me all over. Nothing. Do you think lightning is still inside me?" "Lightning?" he said. "Lightning," he said, "does not just stay inside you. Maybe this is the exit wound and the bolt came through the top of your head. Only that isn't possible," he said to himself, I guess, because then her hair would be scorched. It was possible, though, that he wasn't speaking to himself. He could have been speaking to the voices. He hears them sometimes. They were the ones who told him to kill himself last Christmas. "Well," I said, letting my sweatshirt snap back into place, "that's all. Just wanted to show you." "Wait a minute." I had gotten up, but Douglas pulled me back down in his bed. "Jess," he said, "did you really get struck by lightning?" "Yes," I said. "I told you that." Douglas looked serious. But then Douglas always looked serious. "You should tell Dad." "No way." "I mean it, Jess. Go tell Dad right now. Not Mom either. Just Dad." "Oh, Douglas, go." He pulled me up and pushed me towards the door. "Either you do it or I will." "Oh, hell," I said. But he started to look funny, all pinched face and stuff. So I dragged myself downstairs and found my dad where he usually was when he wasn't at one of his restaurants. At the dining room table, going over the books, with the TV in the kitchen turned onto the sports channel. He couldn't see the TV from where he sat, but he could hear it. Even though he looked totally absorbed in the numbers in front of him, you could switch the channel and he would totally freak out. "What?" he said when I came in, but not in an unfriendly way. "Hey, Dad," I said. "Douglas says I have to tell you I got hit by lightning today." My dad looked up. He had his reading glasses on. He looked at me over the top of them. "Is Douglas having an episode?" he asked. This is what the shrink calls it when Douglas's voices get the better of him, an episode. "No," I said. "It's really true. I did get struck by lightning today." He looked at me some more. "Why didn't you mention this at dinner?" "Because, I said, "it was a celebration." "But Douglas said I have to tell you. Ruth, too. She says I could have a heart attack in my sleep. See, look." I stretched out the neck of my sweatshirt again. It was okay because the scar was way above my boobs, up by my collarbone. My dad's been kind of weird about my boobs ever since I got them. He thinks he's afraid they'll get in the way of my swing when I haul off a right hook on somebody. He looked at the scar and went, "Were you and Skip playing with firecrackers again?" I think I mentioned before that Skip is Ruth's twin brother. He and I used to have a thing about firecrackers. No, Dad, I said. Geez, I'm way over firecrackers. Not to mention Skip. That's from the lightning. I told him what had happened. He listened with a very serious look on his face, and then he went, I wouldn't worry about it. That's what he always used to say when I'd wake up in what seemed like the middle of the night. It was probably about 11, when I was a very little kid, and I'd come down and tell him my leg or arm or neck hurt. Growing pains, he'd say, and give me a glass of milk. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, I said. I was just as relieved as I had been back then, when I was a little kid. I just thought I should tell you, in case I don't wake up tomorrow morning. He said, You don't wake up tomorrow morning, your mother will kill you. Now go to bed, and if I hear anything about you seeking shelter under metal again during the thunderstorm, I'll wear you out. He didn't mean it, of course. My dad doesn't believe in spanking. That's because his older brother, my Uncle Rick, used to beat the tar out of him, my mom says. Which is why we never go to visit Uncle Rick. I think that's also why my dad taught me how to punch. My dad thinks that if you have to learn to defend yourself, that you just have to learn to defend yourself from all the Uncle Ricks of the world. I went back upstairs and practiced my flute for an hour. I always try to play my best when I practice ever since this one morning, back before Ruth got her car, and we used to take the bus to school. Claire Lippman saw me with my flute case and went, Oh, you're the one, in this meaningful voice. When I asked her what she meant, she said, Oh, nothing, just that we always hear someone playing the flute around 10 o'clock every night, and we never knew who it was. I was totally mortified and turned bright red, which she must have seen, since she went in this nice voice. Claire, in spite of being an exhibitionist, is pretty nice. No, it's not bad. I like it. It's like a free concert every night. Anyway, once I heard that, I started treating my practice hour like a performance. First, I warmed up with scales, but I do them really fast to get them over with, and kind of jazzy, so that way they don't sound boring. Then I work on whatever it is we're doing in orchestra, but at double time, so I can get it over with. Then I do some cool medieval pieces that I dug up last time I went to the library, some really ancient versions of Greensleeve and some Celtic stuff. But then when I'm totally warmed up, I do some Billy Joel, since that's Douglas's favorite, though he'd deny it if you asked him. Then I do some Gershwin for my dad, who loves Gershwin, and finish up with some Bach, because who doesn't love Bach? Sometimes Ruth and I will practice together on a few pieces that we found for flute and cello, but we don't practice from the same house. What we do is we open our bedroom windows and play from there, like a little mini concert for the neighborhood. That's pretty cool. Ruth says if some conductor walked by our house, he'd be like, Who are those incredible musicians? I need them in my orchestra immediately. She's probably right. The thing is, I play much better at home than I do at school. Like if I played well at school as I did at home, I'd definitely be first chair instead of third. But I mess up a lot at school on purpose, because frankly, I don't want to be first chair. First chair is always too much pressure. I get enough grief as it is from people trying to challenge me for third. Karen Sue Hankley, for instance. She's fourth chair. She's challenged me 10 times already this year. If you don't like your chair, you can always challenge the person ahead of you and move up if you win. Karen Sue started out in 9th chair and challenged her way up to 4th. But she's been stuck at 4th all year because one thing I won't do is let her win. I like 3rd chair. I'm always 3rd chair. 3rd chair, 3rd kid. You get it? I'm comfortable with being 3rd. But no way am I going to be 4th. So whenever Karen Sue challenges me, I play my best like I do at home. Our conductor, Mr. Vine, always gives me this lecture after, when Karen Sue's gone on in a huff, which she always does because I always win. Then Mr. Vine goes, Jessica, you could be first chair if you just challenged Audrey. You could blow Audrey away if you just tried. But I have no desire to blow anyone away. I don't want to be first chair or even second chair, but I'll be damned before I let anyone take 3rd chair away from me. Anyway, when I was done practicing, I took a shower and then went to bed. Before I turned out the light, though, I felt the place on my chest where the scar was. I couldn't really feel it. It wasn't raised or anything, but I could still see it. When I looked in the mirror coming out of the shower, I hoped it wouldn't still be there the next day. How else was I going to wear my scooped-necked t-shirt?